Episode 3 adapts the ending of Chapter 28.5 along with the entirety of 29 and 30, meaning next week will finally be the start of the Oumi arc. That aside, the first change comes in the form of which car that Kotagawas are driving. In the manga, it appears to be an amalgamation of a second and third generation Suzuki Wagon R, while in the anime, Nanaka is driving a 5th generation Toyota Hiace. Which is a bit odd as the Hiace is consistent with the previous chapter, along with just the car that Grand Blue seems to use in general, including episode 1 of season 1 where Toshio helps Iori move in, along with episode 2 of season 2 where I forgot to mention last week, but Toshio was the driver in the anime as opposed to Nanaka in the manga. Later, Aina has a fantasy that Iori and Chisa have a child, and their kid has turquoise hair, which is what Iori's hair color is in the manga. As the biggest cosmetic change for any of the cast members of Grand Blue comes in the form of Iori's almost black hair in the anime. So having their hypothetical child with turquoise hair seems like a nod to the manga. And not to spoil 2 weeks from now-ish, but this too seems like another nod to his manga counterpart's coloring. After returning to Grand Blue, Chisa accidentally sees this, where not only has Aina's clothes changed, but Kohei is no longer present in this shot either. Aina then opens the door with both hands instead of holding a bottle in her right, a minor difference, but Tokita is no longer doing the standard Grand Blue patented no-handed beer drinking anymore sadly. This one's not really a change, but more so a mistake that carried over from the manga. Here you can see Iori sitting on the right and Chisa on the left, but the reflection of Aina's eye would suggest that they swapped places. I mean, who knows? Maybe they did. Maybe they teleported. Who am I to say? Kohei has clearly mastered the art of time travel in this season already. Speaking of Kohei, later when getting tagged in, he no longer does an OK sign hand signal and gives Aina a thumbs up instead. The anime then cuts the little explanation visual of the association game and has Azusa explain it instead. During it, we get a tiny change when Iori takes his turn, and he plays the who's the most likely to take long baths card, and when pointing at Aina, she no longer has a nervous look anymore, notably missing the sweat drop, and has a pretty blank expression overall, likely due to the uneasiness she's feeling from her scheme, or that she actually would take long baths maybe? This shot is more zoomed in on in the anime, and therefore excludes Tokita and Azusa. It's also zoomed in when Aina attacks Chisa, as we no longer see the Kohei corpse. And turns out he's fine in this shot, as he's actually present in the background, unlike in the manga. The anime omits Kotobuki and the rest of Nanaka for this shot, unfortunately, due to the zoom. And finally, for this half of the episode, the last panel of Shiori spying on her brother is, of course, no longer present. The second half of the episode tackles chapter 30, and the anime omits a quick establishing shot of Aina's apartment when it flashes back to Chisa sneezing. Additionally, there's a little Easter egg reference on Aina's bookshelf here. The anime actually animates the wetsuits blowing in the wind for this scene, which was a pleasant change compared to the sound effects only in the manga. We no longer get this panel of Iori with a water bottle, instead we get Nanaka mumbling that it's hot to establish her uncomfortability. Not a change per se, but I'm just glad the anime finally adapted one of my favorite panels / scenes from the entire manga here. And after the banger ending, we actually get a final page panel from this chapter. Honestly, way less changes for this episode compared to the first two, as most of the panels were actually recreated shot for shot for this one. Anyway, see you next week when the Oumi arc starts.